As the fateful day comes, December 24th, as Gojo and the rest start to prepare for the battle, we see Urame ask Sukuna about the time and place for the duel, but Sukuna replies with that they didn't specify, but he'll know. And just as he's saying that, he senses Gojo from a faraway building about to do something. With Kiyotaka handling the barriers and Utahime and the old man performing a ritual using words, gestures, dance, and music to temporarily amp Gojo's curse technique to 120%, Gojo charges his cursed energy as he says 9 ropes, polarized lights, and crow declaration as he lets out a 200% hollow purple straight to Sukuna, starting off this fight, cooking Sukuna's arm in the process. Gojo lets Sukuna know before they actually get started, just so they're on the same page, telling Sukuna that he's the challenger in this situation. And with that, the fight between the strongest sorcerer in history versus the strongest sorcerer of today has begun. After that insane hollow purple, we see Sukuna ask Gojo if he really thinks he's the challenger, telling him that he let catching him off guard go to his head. Sukuna then adds on saying that Gojo is just a fish on the cutting board, and that he may flop around a lot, he's still just a nameless fish, and claiming that he'll be the one to strip him away of his scales. But Gojo then asks Sukuna why he swapped into Megumi's body, and he was probably hoping that he'd hold back. But Gojo breaks the news to Sukuna, saying that it's too bad for him, and that he's gone under special training, and that he can totally wail on Megumi. Commenting that especially because he looks a lot like his old man Toji. Gojo then says to Sukuna that dying once as Yuji was a great mistake, and that he'll worry about Megumi after he kills him. And with that, they both get straight to scrapping, with Sukuna trying to go for a kick straight to Gojo's gut, but it then gets blocked. They both start to throw powerful jabs at each other while blocking each other's hits in the process. Sukuna tries to hit Gojo with a mean right hook, but that's when Gojo is flat to the ground and sends Sukuna flying to the wall, but it doesn't stop just there, as his attack has some delay, causing Sukuna to not only be sent through that wall, but multiple walls after that. As Sukuna manages to stay on his feet, we see Gojo charging towards him, and quickly jumping and breaking away before as he destroys the platform Sukuna is on, carrying it and chucking it at the next building, with the most devious look on his face. But Sukuna matches that energy as he gets off it and starts to run off the rooftops. As he's jumping off rooftop to rooftop, he's now parallel to Gojo, and that's when he uses Dismantle as he points at Gojo. But in the nick of time, Gojo dodges the attack, and the attack seems to have slashed the building behind him. As Gojo looks back to see the damage, that's when Sukuna charges straight at him, trying to hit him with another mean right hook again. But Gojo blocks it with infinity as he turns it off to catch Sukuna's fists. But at the same time, the upper half of the building behind them starts to fall straight on them, but they manage to fit through the little window opening. While in the building, Sukuna grabs the nearest door and chucks it at Gojo, and as they're both cut off from each other, the building crashes to the floor. And as we see both of their silhouettes from the smoke and dust, Gojo says to Sukuna that he's gonna blame him for all the damages, with Sukuna responding to that, saying like anyone would believe him, joking around with each other. As we cut straight into the next chapter with everyone watching this fight, we see everyone saying how since Gojo has the limitless technique, it should make him inviolable. But Sukuna tried to neutralize it with domain amplification. Yuta says that in Mekamaru's footage that a special grade curse used it against Gojo's limitless technique back in Shibuya. Hikari asks how it's able to neutralize Gojo's domain, but Kusakabe is quick to answer, saying how it's like simple domain, only more developed, and it neutralizes it by using a domain that does not grant a curse technique in order to pour an opponent's curse technique into the empty space. But as he asks if Kusakabe is able to do that, he responds with of course he can, but he does have a sense of how it works. Hana says that the drawback to amplification is that you can't use it together with an innate curse technique, and it appears that Sukuna is no exception to this, and that supposing there's another way for Sukuna to beat the limitless curse technique aside from amplification, Gojo would lose. Panda then asks if that means that Sukuna is still able to hold his own against Gojo with practically using no curse technique. Miwa then says that if that's the case, then why isn't Sukuna expanding a domain? Adding on to that, saying using a curse technique is difficult right after using a domain expansion. So wouldn't the better approach in Sukuna's case to get into a clash of domains with Gojo? Kirara comes in saying that Miwa makes it sound simple, but depending on the result, the fight would be over. But Miwa then says that wouldn't it be a good thing if it ended quickly? And Kirara quickly agrees and also asks why, asking if a domain's guaranteed hit can even pierce Gojo's technique. Itadori answers her question saying that Gojo hinted that it would that time Jogo used his domain against them. Ui then begs the question, being that could it be that Sukuna thinks he can't beat Gojo in a clash of domains? But Shoko responds to that saying that given Gojo's devious personality and six eyes, she doubt that he'd failed to notice that, and that if he did suspect it, he would have initiated his domain first. Chosho then says that perhaps it won't even be a battle of domains, and that based on what Inumaki and Yuji said, he doesn't think that Sukuna closes barriers when he opens domains. But as Kusekabe and the rest question whether or not that's even possible, and in great doubt that it is, Kusekabe asks Miwa for some water. As she throws him a bottle of water, Kusekabe asks why did she do that, with Miwa responding saying that he told her to. But Kusekabe says that he only asked for water, not the bottle, so Miwa just splashes water on him, with Mei saying that that's what it's like to open a domain without closing a barrier. Just like how it isn't possible to hold water without a vessel, painting a picture without a canvas, and flowers to bloom without roots, leaves, or even a stem, it would be like running software without hardware, and anyways it's impossible. But Maki says that Megumi's unfinished domain didn't shut the barrier. As Choso and the rest continue talking about the likelihood of a clash between domains, Yuta adds on saying that Gojo also has more overall cursed energy than himself, with his hunch being that Gojo has twice as much as him or more. So it's not like they wouldn't open a domain due to the lack of cursed energy. Momo also asks saying that maybe nobody, including Gojo and Sukuna, knows what'll happen if their domains were to clash, but we're soon to find out as Higuruma announces that they're both about to expand their domains. And as we cut back to the fight, we see a beautiful spread of both of them saying domain expansion. As we see Sukuna on top of his malevolent shrine, we see that the clash was even, and that inside Gojo's barrier, the two can't miss commands overlap and cancel each other out. They are both fighting with their domains out, and if one of them takes heavy damage or one of their domains collapse, the other guaranteed hit will immediately strike. As everyone is shocked of how even it is, we then see the effective range of Sukuna's domain, as it reaches outside the exterior of Gojo's domain. As Yuji yells that Gojo's domain is weak from attacks from the outside, we then see Gojo's barrier start to crack and then shatter as Sukuna looks at Gojo menacingly, as we see Gojo's neck get slashed by Cleave to end off this chapter. As we start off the new chapter with Yuji worried about Gojo, we see Gojo quick to heal himself with reverse curse technique. And even though it might seem like Gojo was all good, Higuruma says that Sukuna's slashes won't stop inside his domain. Choso asks that since Sukuna doesn't close his barriers, wouldn't running away be easy for Gojo? With Hikari adding on to that saying that if Malevolent Shrine's maximum effect area is about the size of Shibuya, then Gojo should be fast enough to get away. But Kusekabe says no, and that the instantaneous movement uses limitless curse technique to compress space and coordinates, stating that Gojo's domain was just destroyed, so he can't use curse technique for a while, which means in short, Gojo's in trouble. As we see Gojo being viciously slashed from all directions, we see Sukuna say that he's glad and that with regard to curse technique, he's overwhelmingly stronger. As Sukuna charges straight for Gojo with a right hook, asking him if he thought that he'd let him go. As Sukuna tries to kick Gojo, he manages to grab it in time and hits him with a left. And as Sukuna is to the floor with absolutely no fear in his eyes, we see Gojo charge up a mean right hook, but that's when Sukuna dodges it just in the nick of time and manages to get back on his feet. Sukuna comments that Gojo's movements is well for someone using reverse curse technique at full throttle to keep his slashing attacks at bay, but Gojo also figures out that the center of Malevolent Shrine isn't Sukuna but the shrine itself. Yuji posed the question, what if Malevolent Shrine was destroyed? With Kusekabe in response saying that ordinarily concrete manifestations of innate domains don't have special meaning or function, and in other words, they might as well not exist. Mei then says that if the shrine is merely a symbol of the domain, then it can't be broken, and that there's no point in trying. But That's when we see Gojo use new shadow style simple domain. Yuji's confused because he thought that Gojo said that he couldn't use it, but Kusekabe corrected him, saying that he said that he couldn't teach it and that natural geniuses can't teach for shit. As he heals himself with reverse technique, a simple domain will block the guaranteed hit. As both sorcerers are charging at each other, we see them scrapping, but that's when Sukuna slashes at his face once again. But Gojo is quick to use simple domain. As Sukuna is sort of annoyed at this, we see everyone confused as they see that Gojo stopped healing with reverse curse technique. As Yuta and the rest start suspecting that Gojo might have run out of curse energy due to how much he's used during this fight so far, while Sukuna is attacking him endlessly. As Gojo charges towards Sukuna, the question begins to appear, with the question being if Gojo is going to lose this fight. But right at that moment, Gojo clings himself to Sukuna. As Sukuna notices Gojo's speed, we see Gojo shout out these 3 words, able to rally up most people, saying curse technique reversal, as he points a finger gun at Sukuna. As Yuta questions if that's even possible, we see him put it together that maybe Gojo couldn't have healed his body because he was using reverse curse technique to heal his burnt out curse technique. As Gojo yells red with the biggest smile on his face, we see him send Sukuna flying right into Malevolent Shrine, fucking Sukuna up pretty bad, as Gojo says that wasn't easy, ending off the chapter. Now honestly, this fight has been a complete seesaw, with every chapter having us thinking that one has the upper hand in one chapter and then the exact opposite seems to be the case in the next. But nonetheless, this fight has so far been completely gas, having the whole community split into mainly 2 groups between Gojo fans and Sukuna fans. But at the end of this fight, there's no doubt that this will be a top 3 fight in this series, as well as a top tier fight in shonen in general. But without further ado, if you guys did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below if you guys want more JJK content in the future, as well as who do you guys have winning this fight, either Gojo or Sukuna. And with that, I hope you guys have a great day, and see ya.